Hi guys, Mr. Rooter back with another video, and today I want to give my thoughts on the first 4 episodes of Stranger Things season 5 because I really liked it, and I wanted to give my thoughts on it as well as give some more theories for what I think could happen in the next 2 parts. So yeah, okay, just obviously massive spoiler warning for the entire series so far. So yeah, you have been warned. So including the first 4 episodes, volume 1. This is my review on it, and it's a spoiler review, so yeah. And I really liked it, so obviously there's a bunch of twists, and yeah, so I'm just gonna start off with some things I'm negative about. One thing that I'm really, really negative about is my biggest gripe with the entire show so far is the fact that they're not willing to kill off characters. Like, I think this problem really emerged at the end of season 3, because we killed off Billy, we killed off Alexi, but we didn't kill off Hopper. And if they weren't killing off people, well then that's one thing. If they're not killing off enough people, which I think they should, but it's fine, whatever. We love these characters, but but Hopper's, but the thing I have a problem with is them faking us out. Right, like if you're not gonna kill him, then don't fake us out. They faked us out with Hopper's death. And that letter scene was really emotional, but he's not dead. Hopper was never dead. He was always alive, and he will just stay alive. And it just pissed me off that they did that. But whatever, it was a one-time thing. And then next season with Max, I'm fine with Max because Max seemingly has a purpose. But like, all they're willing to really kill off is characters that introduced at the start of the season, and you really shouldn't like them. Like, you shouldn't like that character. You shouldn't like this character, but then they die at the end. Right? You shouldn't like Bob. I mean, he's a competing love interest with Hopper, but you gotta love Bob and then kill him just to get some emotion. You shouldn't like Alexei, a Russian spy, who like helped bring a portal back to the Upside Down. But you do like him. And then you love him, and he died at the end of the season. And then Eddie, you shouldn't like this guy who is acting super weird and is like, yeah, he's just acting super weird. This crazy guy. But then you love the character, and then they kill him off, and it's stupid. It's stupid that they do that. And now I'm worried about Turnbow. Or Turnbow, because Derek is like, he's like a bully. He's literally a bully to Holly Wheeler. In the first 3 episodes, I hated that kid. I mean, he was an annoying little shit. I went in the show wanting to like the character. In every episode, like, I hated him even more and more and more. Because, like, okay, maybe he has an abusive family and it'll be fine. No, he's a rich little brat. And I was like, oh my god, I hated that kid. By episode 4, really liked him. They did a complete 180 on his character, and I actually really like the character. So yeah, I'm worried about that character, because you shouldn't like this rich brat, and now you are starting to like him, and then now I'm worried. Are they gonna kill him? Maybe. I mean, he's like 7, so probably not, but maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, that, okay, but what I really mean by this is like that is so far in the first 4 episodes, they have faked us out with death so many times. Ted Wheeler is an example of a fine one, because Ted, like, yeah, I thought he was dead. But that's not, the show didn't frame it as if he was dead. Like, sure, he shouldn't have survived that, but they didn't frame it as if he was ever dead, really. You just thought he was because of the injuries. It's not really the show's fault for that. But Karen Wheeler, like, come on. Like, she was mauled by that rule. First off, she went through a lot more than Ted did. She really, really should have died. Also, like, the way they shot it with Nancy coming in and being shocked and slowly revealing from the blood to her body, and then the slow-mo of the demo working just clawing at her, and then, like, the blood splashing against Hollywood's face, that would have been the perfect moment to kill Karen off. But no, at last she survives, and she just can't talk for a little while. Like, that would have been the perfect moment to kill Karen off. The perfect moment. And also would set stakes that, like, people die here. People that you've already known from past seasons can die. It's not just new characters. Right? But then, no. No, that's not what happened. She was ultimately fine. She lived. She made it past the first 4 episodes. And she's okay now. She literally lived. And like, yeah, I'm just tired of getting baited out. And the finale was the worst offender of this. I mean, they faked it out with Hopper's death again. And I was there like, oh my god, is Hopper gonna die? Because here's a positive of the show. They really only showed off the first 4 episodes in the trailers. Yeah, I know they showed a little bit of stuff after that. But really, 99.9% of the footage they used in the trailers were all from these first 4 episodes. Meaning that these characters, like, they showed a little bit of Jonathan, Dustin, Steve, and Nancy in the Upside Down for the next, like, 4 episodes. But really, most of it was from the first half of the season, which I think is great, because that's a really smart way to do it. And yeah, there's a little bit of stuff with, Mrs. Byers stuff, like Joyce and, like, everything. But, like, really, they did really just use mostly footage from the first 4 episodes, which I really like. Because that way I was actually on the edge of my seat. Like, because when Hopper was, like, getting faked out to death, it still pissed me off. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna die. Because they hadn't showed anything past. Like, I'm pretty sure in the trailers, we've seen all the footage of Hopper so far in the first 4 episodes. And I was like, oh my god, he's gonna die. Didn't die. He was okay. They faked stuff for the second time with Hopper. That even pissed me off more that it was the second time. I was like, oh my god. Because I did not predict Hopper to die because I already faked this out. But then I was like, oh my god, he's actually gonna die. He's like, nope. He's okay. He made it. He's gonna make it past. For a little while at least. And it's like, come on. You couldn't just kill him? Or you couldn't just at least not fake us out? And then like, they faked us out with Robin's death, Mike's death, Lucas's death. Although I thought the reveal of how they were okay was really cool. We'll get to that later, but yeah, there's just that all pissed me off, the fact that we faked them out with these deaths. Because like, if you don't want to kill people, that's fine. Then just don't fake us out with the deaths. And then like, yeah, because yeah, it's annoying, that fact that they do that with characters, and I'm tired of it. But yeah, one thing that I thought was great is that we got a lot more Demogorgon action. Moving on to a lot more positives. Obviously the Demogorgon action, I thought that was great. The fact that we really seen the power similar to season 4, because in season 1 we didn't really see as much power. It was more of like a kind of like a small town thing, hunting really only characters who managed to only survive because they used their brain, and really only killing some like teenagers and stuff. In season 4 we really got like to start to see that with the Russian stuff, and then in season 5 we went all out. I love that. I love the massacre scene with all the Demogorgons. I love how it was a one take, and I love how they used the TVMA rating that they got for this season. There's these Demogorgons ripping apart people and like killing people. I love that so much. And it really made them a threatening thing. And like when they slashed Ted Wheeler and he went through the walls when they were throwing around Holly and all that stuff, like that's why I think they should have died, because they should have they shouldn't have lived through those injuries, Ted and Karen Wheeler. But yeah, I thought that was like really cool how they were just tearing through the house, and yeah. Like, they were really cool in this season. I think that this is the best they've been. Also, the fact that we get multiple... it's still not an army like I wanted. That could still happen. And hopefully it does in the next sketch. Because we really don't know anything. But I'm worried that Will may have actually killed off all the Demogorgons. And now the rest is just demo dogs. I don't think that's happened, but it might. But yeah, I could, like, actually, like... if, like, all the... But yeah, if Will did kill off all the Demogorgons, definitely I would be pissed off, because I love the Demogorgons, and yeah, they're the coolest Stranger Things monster easily. And yeah, I'm really happy with what they got, killing characters left and right, and yeah, and even like the fact that like it would be seen as plot armor if the Duffer Brothers said that in the big massacre at the end of the Sorcerer. That like all the characters standing will be dead except for like the kids, like the main character and shit. So it's like, okay, that's pretty cool, right? And then it's like, and then the episode, right? like that's plot armor. If something like that happened, if something like that did actually happen, that would be so much plot armor. If they just survived, if they avoided everything, it would be fine because obviously you don't want all these characters to get killed. But like if they survived these very deadly Demogorgons who tore through an entire army base and killed all the soldiers, then that's kind of plot armor, right? Especially when they're in the way of the kids. No, they actually explained it in a good way where the Demogorgons were literally going for Mike and Lucas and Robin. They're about to kill him before Will obviously stopped them and did the Vecna thing, which is really cool. But yeah, just talking about like all the twists and stuff. First off, I want to get through the not too exciting twist is the fact that they brought back Callie. Now listen, okay. You might think I'm bullshitting here, but I predicted that who they were hiding in that military base was either Vecna or Callie, because they're telling us it's Vecna. I was like, I feel like it's not gonna be Vecna, so it's like it's either Vecna or Callie, right? Because like Callie, she was in 8, so I was like, oh, it's one of the other, right? Because those are because that we know of. That we knew of at the time, at least, the only people who had powers were Will, because Will still did have like sort of like a spider sense thing with the mind flayer, and Vecna, 11, Vecna, and Callie, right? So I was like, it's gonna be one of them, right? Because like all the other numbers have been killed, Vecna killed them all, so it's got to be one of them. So yeah, I was like, when it was Callie, I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, because yeah, but I did still see kind of coming a little bit because like Vecna was really cool here because alongside the Demogorgons, Vecna was really coolly killing people. He has group powers and like Mr. Fantastic powers where he can stretch, and obviously he has group powers because he's kind of like a tree. I like how he's using his powers to stab people in the face, and he was just aura affirming when he was walking out of that portal and stuff. That was so cool. I thought that was really cool and stuff. And I like the way we brought back Max, because Max has to be in a coma, and obviously eventually she's gonna wake up from the coma. And I'll get to her character later more so. But I love how we brought back Max because, yeah, she would be trapped inside of Vecna's mind. We established that, Vecna, has said, and Dr. Breder said, when Vecna kills, he doesn't just kill him. He gets, their memories and stuff. He essentially sort of traps their soul, but they're still dead. So it's an odd thing. But due to the fact that Max is still alive, but she's in a coma, her soul could be trapped, but she did die for a period of time. Her soul would probably still be trapped inside of Vecna's mind, although she wouldn't actually be dead like the other people he's killed. So I thought that was a really interesting way to bring her in. And then I like how Holly brought in. I like how he finally gave Holly something to do and made Holly important, because like in the first couple seasons she was not important at all. She was just there. She essentially had no purpose. No, I really like how here we actually got stuff with her character. And now Mike gave her a D&D piece. I thought that was cool. And yeah, I thought that her being kidnapped and all this stuff, I thought that was really cool. Okay, we're getting into get into the Will stuff, because I think that's the most important thing to talk about now, and then I'll probably get into predictions and theories and stuff. So get into all the Will stuff, because I really like to focus on Will this season. In the first season, I liked Will as a character, but he was more of a plot device. Really. Sorry to pause the video for a second, but he was a plot device. He was 100% a plot device. He did nothing important, and he was just kidnapped. Right, that was it, and I like that, but still. And then the next season, but he was just in the second season. I think we handled his character really well, but ultimately he wasn't really there much. Right, he had trauma, and he was still more of a plot device in the fact that the mind flayer possessed him. Right, so yeah, so it wasn't really that like important to everything and stuff. So yeah, I thought that was still a little odd, but like I really liked his character first 2 seasons. Season 3, I liked his kind of character arc thing with him, with everything about like him, his relationship with Mike. But even then, it was still this teen drama bullshit, which was the main problem in season 3, is the fact that they focused so much on the teen drama bullshit. And that plot line, I think, single-handedly has made all the characters involved in that plot line of Lucas, Mike, Will, Max, and 11 all so much more unlikable. Like, by the time season 4 rolled around, I hated Max. I was, and everybody else in that plotline, I was like, they gotta redeem themselves, right? Because they were so annoying. They were all bickering while the Mind Flayer was trying to, rule Earth. The Mind Flayer was trying to like destroy Hawkins and Earth and stuff like that. They were all like, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. You killed women and species. Like, shut up and just kill the Mind Flayer. You can talk about this shit after, if you live from defeating the Mind Flayer. Like, buddy. But then they really made me like all the characters back in season 4, except for Will. Will was just annoying. His haircut sucked, and they really leaned in on him being gay. We were just like, okay, yeah, fine, if he's gay, whatever, but like, don't lean so heavy on it where that's it. That's like all he has to his character. In season 4, all he had to his character was that he was gay, and he essentially he also just said, oh yeah, by the way, Vecna is alive at the end of the show. That was all he did in season 3, is cry over the fact that Mike didn't like him back, and be jealous of 11. And say, oh yeah, by the way, I feel that Vecna's alive at the end of the season. Like, that was his only purpose. That was his only purpose. Literally, to say that, like, that was it. That was it. And it was just annoying. It was annoying. And I hated his character. But yeah, they really redeemed. They didn't only lean on him being gay. And, like, the way they did it was much more interesting than what they did in season 3, where they on them leaning on him being gay, because it actually drove something forward. And I liked his relationship with Robin here. I thought that was very interesting, and I really liked that. I really liked that team. I thought that it was really cool and good to see that happen. And he doesn't really have a bowl cut anymore. He finally got a new haircut, which is so much better. Because like when he's a kid, the bowl cut's fine, but like he was so old in the last season, so I was like, no, buddy, scrap the bowl cut. And yeah, I really like the fact that he finally got at least a decent haircut. Finally. I really like that about his character. He wasn't just always crying about the fact that Mike didn't like him back, which was like so stupid that he was just doing that last season. And yeah. So yeah, I was finally liking his character again. And then, then episode 4 rolled around, and it was so cool to see him just lift the Demogorgons up to see, first off, all those flashbacks is like although it was a little shitty for the trailers, because the trailers, they say this line of Vecna, which might happen later, but it wasn't in the first ones, where in the trailers it shows off, the final trailer, it showed off Vecna's design. He lifted up Willie, pulled him towards him, and it was like, oh my god, he's kidnapping him. And he said, William, you are going to help me one last time. So it was like, oh my god, he's going to kidnap Will. And we were able to track that was at the end of episode 4, due to the background, and due to the fact that we knew that episode 4 would end with a big Demogorgon blowout. So it's like, oh my god, at the end of episode 4, the sorcerer, he's going to kidnap Will. Didn't kidnap Will. That scene was in there, but he just dropped him. He was just essentially like taunted him, really like, yeah, you're like a loser, and you just dropped him. It was like, I don't even care, man. And like, that was it. And it was like, okay, whatever. But then it was really cool, because then like we got the flashbacks, which I really love the fact that we got the flashbacks. We got flashbacks to stuff that we only heard about in season 2, because when the Mind Flayer possessed Will in season 2, and Will was trying to communicate to him through Morse code, to try to bring back Will. Jonathan, Mike, and Joyce, they were all trying to like talk about memories they had with Will and really good memories, like talking about how they, like Jonathan was talking about obviously the should I stay or should I go, that we seen earlier in season 1 at that point, but like but Jonathan was also like, oh yeah, I remember the night we built Castle Byers, like that was the night that Dad left, and that like they were really cold and they got sick because they stayed up all night through the rain. We see them building Castle Byers, and Joyce, like she said, like, oh yeah, on your birthday all your friends got you toys, and then but I got you a bag pack of colors, and all you want to do is color with them, and you colored this big rainbow ship with all the colors, and I brought it to work. You see that was really cool. I really like seeing that. And then with Mike, the Mike thing was that like we seen that in season 1 that Mike went up to him when he was on the swing sets to see if they wanted to be friends, and he said yes. So yeah, that was really cool to see all those flashbacks from season 2. Like we only heard about him, and now we finally got to see him, which I thought was really, really cool. And it was also what Robin said earlier about how she looked back when she was like a little kid in like an old video, and yeah, and we seen it through like an old like movie sort of thing. And then originally I thought that is he gonna turn evil here, because like is he just gonna let the Demogorgons kill Mike because he's so pissed off about him about everything? Is he just gonna let and turn evil and go with Vecna and shit? But no, he didn't do it. He stopped the Demogorgons, all the Demogorgons from Robin, Lucas, and Mike, and he did the Vecna thing where he broke all their bones, and that was so cool to see him too. And he just like, yeah, he just got them all up, and he was just breaking their bones like Vecna, and he killed them exactly like Vecna. Now I really hope that's not all the Demogorgons, but it might be. But yeah, I don't think it is, and hopefully it's not, because I know we have Demodon, but those aren't the same. That's just a pre-version of a Demogorgon. So yeah, yeah, that was really cool to see. And then him wiping the blood from his nose, I think that was really cool. But yeah, ultimately, I just love these episodes. That was probably, the Sorcerer is probably my favorite episode of Stranger Things so far. I think it was really good the way they focused on Will and everything. And the big Demogorgon blowout at the end with Vecna and Will and all the Demogorgons killing all the soldiers. That's probably my favorite scene in all of Stranger Things. Or sequence, because like before that it was probably Max and like Vecna running up a hill in Deer Belly, but yeah, now it's easily that probably. So yeah, that was really cool, and the one taking stuff. So yeah, but yeah, ultimately I just love these episodes, and yeah, I'm really excited for the next ones. But yeah, just talking about theories. Okay, so I don't stand by what I said before, because yeah, obviously things have changed. But I do still think that, I'm not sure. I think that at this point, I'm just like, I'm sorry, because I said in the last episode, if I didn't, well, I'm sorry, like I said in the last video, that I've been a Steve fan since day 1. However, I think that Steve will die in this season. They've set it up perfectly, because the engagement ring, why didn't Murray have to get Jonathan an engagement ring? Why would he do that? Because at this point, an engagement ring usually means that that's gonna be the person, that's gonna be who they end up with. And then I guess, yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that Steve could live even if Jonathan ends up with him, but he was giving advice to Jonathan, sort of giving Jonathan like his blessing, and he obviously has a relationship with Dustin, and it would hurt more if the relationship with Dustin's a little bit fractured, but then like if like they embrace and it's like, oh yeah, I love you, not in like a gay way, but like in like a friendship way, and then Steve would die, and then obviously there's that cliff in the trailers of Dustin crying into Steve's like arms, and Dustin's bawling, but Steve isn't crying. He's more supportive and stuff. And I thought maybe Vecna gives Dustin a vision of like a dead demonic Eddie, which could still happen. But yeah, man, I think that's gonna be Steve sacrificing himself to save Nancy and to save Dustin. Or maybe it would be even more emotional if it's just to save the kids. If it's to save Mike, Dustin, Max, and Lucas. I think that would be like, yeah, if it was just to save them and he sacrificed himself. Team from season 2, like, oh god, that's gonna happen too. And like, he's my favorite character in the show, always has been ever since episode 1. And you could argue that he's bully. He was not a bully in season 1, okay? I don't understand why people say, oh, he has a redemption. He does not have to have a redemption arc, bro. Like, what did he do in season 1 that was that bad? Like, okay, yeah, he broke Jonathan's camera. Do you want to know why he broke Jonathan's camera? It was because Jonathan, well, you know this, but I'm just saying, it's because Jonathan was taking pictures of Nancy naked, like putty. You can't even blame the guy then, right? Like, he just looks like a peeping Tom there. And I know it was this other thing, and it was weird. He didn't mean it in a sexual way, but it was still weird. Like, and you can't blame Steve for being a good boyfriend and destroying them. Also, not to mention that Steve was a good boyfriend even after they slept together, because like at first, like Nancy and Barb were like, oh, he just wants to break up with Nancy after they slept together, right? But no, he actually wants to keep the relationship alive and stuff. And yeah, but ultimately, and yeah, he writes that Nancy was a slut, but like that was all just a response because he thought that she was cheating on him with Jonathan, and you can't blame him for thinking that because it really looked like it. And sure, he said some bad shit about Will and Joyce, but that was because he was just angry about what he thought was Nancy cheating on him. And then at the end, he didn't really need to redeem himself to the point, and he was always great. But yeah, I think that Steve's gonna die here, which I think is really bad and sad, and it will suck if Steve dies. But yeah, I just think it's true, man. I think it's what's gonna happen. And second off, I think that Max is gonna die. Max is gonna die, obviously, because I think that first off, I think she's gonna wake up for a coma at least a little bit. But first off, she's blind, okay? And I'm not saying that she's gonna live without being blind, but like it's just like it's more unlikely that she would. And she's trapped inside a victim's mind. But I feel like she'll probably sacrifice herself to help kill Vecna. And then, yeah. I think that then she's probably gonna die. I also think that Callie is probably gonna die too. I'm gonna predict that Callie's gonna die. Probably helping kill Vecna. Or my other theory. I'm sorry about that. I have to, I don't know if this is gonna get through, but I have to, like, splice together 2 videos because there was an emergency alert, and it cut off my entire video, so I'm just gonna, go back to talking about what I was talking about. I couldn't pause it, it just instantly cut off my video. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk about what I was gonna talk about, my next theory, which is that Max will probably die, and the reason I believe that Max will die is because I wouldn't save this, because they already faked this out with her death. But I think that she's gonna die, and I'll tell you why. And that's because Max wrote letters to everybody, and I believe that Steve won't probably make it to Max dying. She did write a letter to Steve, so Max wrote letters to people, okay? And it's just a thing in movie making. If you write letters to people, if you die, well then chances are you're gonna die. Okay? It's a death sentence. It's a death sentence for Max, and Max will definitely die because of it. And especially Lucas reading that letter, I don't know about everybody else, especially Steve, because obviously. But yeah, if you write a heartfelt letter, well then they're at least gonna fake a death out enough time for the main characters to remember it. Like, it'd be at least one day, and read that letter. They even did it in season 3 with Hopper, right? In season 3, they did it with Hopper, with 11 reading the letter that he wrote. He was gonna talk to them about everything with like all the Mike and Hopper stuff. So yeah, that's probably one of the most emotional moments. And they kept him. They at least made the main characters think he was dead for a little while, so at least she's gonna make it seem like she's dead for a little. At least she's gonna. I don't understand another way they would do that besides her actually dying, right? Like, besides her actually dying, I don't understand a way that they can make it look like she's dead for at least like a day, and then she would be able to come back to life, similar to Hopper. But I can see a way that would happen. So yeah, I think that I think that Max is gonna die here. And yeah, so those are probably my predictions. And I feel like other people might die too. Other people are probably gonna die too. But yeah, that's just my general theories and stuff about the next episodes. And also, here's my other theory: is that first off, Vecna is obviously gonna die one way or another. He's gonna die unless they have a stupid cliffhanger ending, which I would hate if that's the way they end the show. But here's a theory that first off, the first Shadow Play, I haven't seen it, but I do not like what I've heard about it. Where essentially it redeems Vecna, and essentially Vecna was under the influence of the Mind Flayer when he killed his family, which I really don't like. But there has to be a purpose to that. Like he wasn't actually bad in that. It was more so the Mind Flayer manipulating him. There has to be a purpose to that happening, right? So my theory is that there might take in a lot of influence from Star Wars, as it has in the past, with Steve's character in particular. Steve's character is very much an homage to Han Solo, a lot, because he's like the redeemable kind of asshole-ish character. So I feel like we might, who ultimately does a really brave action and saves the day, right? I mean, he saved Nancy and Jonathan's life from the Demogorgon in season 1. Sure didn't kill the Demogorgon, but he very much weakened it. And if he wasn't there, well then Jonathan and Nancy would have died. And so yeah. I think that this might happen the way that Vecna is Darth Vader, because he's been redeemed, and he fights off against the Mind Flayer, who would be Palpatine, and ultimately he kills Palpatine, which ultimately kills himself. Also, not to mention that there's the 20 theory, and the 20 theory is that in season 4, Eddie's D&D game, Eddie's D&D game, Vecna is ultimately the main villain, and Dustin rolls the dice, and he gets an 11 at first. That's not enough to kill Vecna, right? An 11? Who's the only one really fighting? Steven stuff, but who's the only superpowered one really fighting Vecna at the end of season 4? 11, right? So yeah. So that's not enough to kill. That's not enough to kill Vecna. But then Erica wins the game by rolling a 20. Oh, now 11 plus 8 plus 1 equals 20. 8, obviously. And then the 1 could either be Will, as a lot of people are theorizing, being 1, but that doesn't really make sense because he isn't 1. Or it could be actually 1 as in Vecna, and really the Mind Flayer is a really bad guy, and he has to sacrifice himself to take out the Mind Flayer, which ultimately could be the ending. But yeah, I don't want to be opposed to it. They just have to handle it right and everything. So yeah. But yeah, I really did like that. I really did like the first 4 episodes. I love the first 4 episodes. Yeah. And so those are all those are my theories. Oh, also one more thing is in the Turbo Trap. I love the fact that we were using Home Alone traps on the Demogorgon. The fact that Lucas is throwing the water balloons at him full of gasoline. The fact the nails and stuff, and all the barbed wire and stuff. I love that he got an homage to Home Alone. But yeah, anyways, those are all my thoughts for today. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.